I was never supposed to be anybody's cautionary tale. I grew up in a sun-baked Texas town where people still waved at strangers and weddings were potluck affairs behind the First Baptist Fellowship Hall. The day I left for New York with a full-ride scholarship and nothing but a thrift store suitcase, my mama hugged me so tight I felt her bones press hope straight through my ribs. "Remember who you are, Eva May," she whispered. I promised I would. For 10 years I kept that promise, until the night I fell in love with Daniel Rutherford, Wall Street golden boy, heir to the Rutherford real estate fortune, and the single human capable of turning every sensible cell in my body to syrup. He was carved from confidence, steel blue eyes, perfect hair, smile designed in a lab to disarm common sense. We married 18 months after our first date beneath chandeliers that cost more than my childhood house. My hometown paper called it a fairy tale. Fairy tales, I've learned, run on blood. 9 years later, I stood at the back of a private ballroom in the Plaza Hotel, clutching a champagne flute I hadn't touched, watching Daniel slow dance with a brunette half my age. His hand rested just above the small of her back, 2 inches lower than courtesy allows. Every so often, she tilted her head to whisper, her lips brushing the curve of his ear. Daniel laughed, the real one, the unguarded bark he once saved only for me. 1 week earlier, he'd sworn the gala bored him senseless and begged me to take the company jet to Palm Springs with girlfriends instead. I smelled a setup, faked a sudden flu, then showed up unannounced in a thrift store wig and the kind of rhinestone gown Rutherfords would donate to charity. No one recognized me. People don't look at servers when they're busy inhaling caviar. At 11:08 p.m., the brunette leaned in, slid something into Daniel's jacket pocket, and ghosted toward the elevators. Daniel followed 3 minutes later. I tailed them to the 43rd floor and watched through a cracked housekeeping door as they disappeared into suite 4306. The corridor smelled of lilies and bleach. 2 voices drifted through the door. Hers velvet, his low fire. A phrase slipped out clear enough to carve itself into my spine. "Sign it tomorrow, baby. Once she's out, the board is yours." Tomorrow. My marriage had an expiration date, printed, notarized, and scheduled for delivery before brunch. I walked back to the service elevator on legs made of ash, tore off the wig, and dialed the only person I still trusted with secrets. My twin brother, Eli, a cybersecurity engineer who lived 1 pay grade below Hermit. "Need a miracle?" I said. "Define miracle. Proof my husband's setting me up, and I need it before he does." Silence, then a sigh. "Send me his phone." 2 at 3 a.m., Daniel slid into bed smelling of expensive gin and someone else's perfume. I lay still while he kissed the top of my head like a dutiful husband, then collapsed snoring. 5 minutes later, I eased his phone from beneath the pillow. Face ID, useless. But fingerprint? Drunk sleep deep. I pressed his thumb to the sensor, waited for the soft click, then airdropped the entire contents to an encrypted drive Eli provided. By dawn, the phone was back under Daniel's pillow, and I was curled on the chaise longue rehearsing neutrality. At 8:17 a.m., Eli called. "Sit down," he said. I did. He's opening shell companies in Macau and Dubai, all funded with transfers from Rutherford Holdings Charitable Foundation. Your name's on the filings as primary custodian. That's embezzlement. More like premeditated financial homicide. When the feds trace it, they'll find your signature on everything. I tasted bile. What else? A prenup addendum you never signed, digitally forged. It says if you commit ethical misconduct, you forfeit all marital assets. He's timing a public scandal to hit right after the divorce. How? Anonymous leak to the SEC tomorrow, alleging you laundered Chinese money through Rutherford Realty. I didn't. Doesn't matter. Paper trail points to your e-signatures. He's good, Eva. Real good. A pause, but not perfect. I heard the grin in Eli's voice. There 3. 3 we had 24 hours. While Daniel caught a breakfast meeting, I staged the meek wife routine, called his assistant, ordered his favorite sushi for dinner, even texted heart emojis. Meanwhile, Eli burned through firewalls like tissue, downloading contracts, bank records, GPS logs, every bite of treachery. At noon, he called again. "Got the girl," he said. "Brunette? Name's Tessa Morgan. Real estate analyst at Rutherford, graduated Yale 2 years ago. And get this, she's co-owner of a consulting firm registered last month. The same Macau account is funneling money into it." Motive? Rutherford board votes next week on a new CFO. Daniel promised her the seat once you're out of the company. I laughed. Too loud, too broken. How Greek tragedy of him. Destroy a wife, crown a mistress. Eli's tone softened. We can stop it, but you have to risk everything. I leaned against marble tile and stared at a reflection I barely knew. High cheekbones, haunted eyes, a mouth that forgot how to smile. Everything's already gone, I said. Let's scorch the earth. Under 4, the plan required 3 moves. 1, flip the narrative. Leak evidence of Daniel's fraud before his story broke, painting him as architect and me as whistleblower. 2, freeze the money. Marcus Sell, redirect his shell company transfers to a federal escrow so he couldn't disappear. 3, expose the affair in real time during tomorrow night's shareholders gala. Eli handled the tech. I rehearsed the theater. At 5 p.m., I called Daniel, voice trembling just the right amount. Told him I'd booked a private box at Lincoln Center tomorrow, his reward for months of stress. He sounded pleased, unaware the box belonged to a Pulitzer-winning finance journalist hungry for blood. I arranged hair, makeup, a silver gown cut sharp enough to slice hope. At midnight, Eli delivered a USB drive the size of a fingernail. Plug it into anything connected to the ballroom projector, he said. What then? Then we let truth do what truth does. He hugged me, first time since we were 18. Be ruthless, he whispered. Pavage 5. The New York Phil's rehearsal hall transforms into a ballroom once a year for Rutherford Holdings' charity gala. Gold drapes, crystal towers of champagne, billionaires grazing like restless cattle. I arrived on Daniel's arm, head high, calm enough to fool God. Tessa hovered near the stage in a backless emerald dress, pretending not to watch us. Daniel's hand brushed mine, sweaty. At 8:42 p.m., speeches began. Daniel as CEO was keynote. Right before he ascended the stage, I kissed his cheek, lingered just long enough to slide Eli's drive into the podium's laptop. Daniel tapped the microphone, smiling that heartbreak smile. Tonight, he began, we celebrate generosity. On the mezzanine, Eli, disguised as tech crew, sent the trigger signal. The ballroom screen behind Daniel flickered, then displayed a looping file directory labeled Macaw Laundering Evidence. Murmurs. Daniel turned, confusion bleeding into panic. The folder opened automatically, cycling through PDF contracts bearing his signature, bank transfers to offshore accounts, CCTV stills of him embracing Tessa outside Suite 4306, time-stamped 11:12 p.m. Gasps erupted. Phones lifted. Somewhere a woman shrieked. Daniel hammered keys. The slideshow ignored him. The final slide was a video. Daniel's drunken voice bragging to Tessa in bed about planting every dirty dollar on Eva's pretty little head. Live audio filled the hall. Filthy. Undeniable. When the lights snapped on, I was already at the mic stand opposite him. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, voice steady, I'm Eva Rutherford, chair of the Rutherford Foundation. 10 minutes ago, I delivered this evidence to the SEC and the Manhattan District Attorney. Effective immediately, I'm placing my husband on administrative leave pending investigation. The room exploded. Daniel lunged toward me. Security intercepted. Tessa vanished like a cockroach. Photographers swarmed. Somewhere behind flashbulbs, I saw Eli slip out a side door. Mission complete. 6. The fallout was biblical. FBI raids at dawn seized servers and froze $320 million. Rutherford's stock nosedived 37%. Tessa turned state's witness within 48 hours, trading pillow talk for immunity. Daniel was arraigned on 14 counts: securities fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. My phone buzzed nonstop. Reporters, lawyers, betrayed in-laws. I granted one exclusive to the journalist whose Lincoln Center box I'd gifted Daniel. Headline next morning: Queen Maker Queen, how Eva Rutherford destroyed a dynasty to save her name. The public devoured it. So did the board. They offered me Daniel's seat. I declined. Instead, I liquidated my shares, wired half to the foundation in Mama's hometown, and funded scholarships for every girl who dreamed bigger than a potluck wedding. 6 months later, I stood barefoot on the cracked porch of my childhood house, sunrise staining the sky apricot. Mama rocked beside me, wrapping a quilt around our shoulders. You remembered who you are, she said. I exhaled something I'd been holding for years. A storm, a promise, a girl I once was. Yeah, I whispered, and I won't forget again. Behind us, Eli brewed coffee, whistling off-key. Somewhere in Manhattan, Daniel Rutherford counted days through prison bars, still trying to solve the equation of a woman's fury. He never understood the variables. In every story he told himself, I was the victim, pliable, predictable, one signature away from ruin. He never learned the math Mama taught me. Hope plus grit minus fear equals wildfire. Wildfire doesn't ask permission. Wildfire just burns. And some fairy tales, you see, end with the princess lighting the match herself.